Hello everyone. So last week we worked on our Zentangle designs that are going to eventually become a mixed media art piece. This week we're going to finish those designs by filling in these last few sections. So I'm going to give you some ideas for patterns you can do, but if you have ideas of your own, then go for it. But we're going to start with our first pattern that we can do together. Alright, so the first pattern we're going to do kind of reminds me a little bit of like a snake skin. It's kind of what it ends up looking like. I'm working with the Sharpie today, but remember you can work with a pencil or a pen, whatever you're comfortable working with. But the way that I'm going to do this is I'm just going to draw some ovals. Now I'm not making these perfect. They're actually intentionally, because I want them to look like something that would occur in nature, I'm making them a little bumpy and wiggly. I'm putting them in all sorts of different directions, but I want their edges to touch because I'm going for like a snake skin or even like a pebble sort of look. So I'm thinking about the shape of an oval, but they're all a little bit different. There's just these round organic shapes. Remember, organic shapes are shapes that occur in nature. Geometric shapes occur in mathematics. And the reason that I chose this location for this is because right here I have a huge section that's a geometric shape with all of these triangles and squares. So I want to use the principle of design, which is contrast, to make it different. So I'm just filling in this whole space with this circle pattern, and I'll show you how to finish out this pattern when I finish filling it in. Okay, so now that I've filled it in here, I don't want to stop here. I actually want to fill in the space in between each of these circles. We'll just call them circles for lack of a better word. These round shapes. I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to fill these spaces in to help create a better sense of positive and negative space. Remember, positive and negative space. Positive space is the things that are in the front. Negative space is the space around those things, or you could think about it as the space in the back. So you can see how it just helps solidify my pattern. It makes it feel a little bit more finished and clean by going in and really looking at it. One thing I want you guys to be working on with your Zentangles is really looking at your work and looking for opportunities to add details or just take it to the next level. This is not something you rush through. This is something you take your time on. And when you take your time on it, you'll be rewarded by something that looks really cool. I'm going in, I'm just looking, and I'm seeing all of these little spaces. So I'm looking for this little space here, and I'm filling it in. It's helping give the sense. Now, if you are working with a marker, this is my art table. You can see I have all sorts of like paint splashes and things on it, so I don't mind making this messy because I have an art table at my house. But if you're just working at your desk or your kitchen table, make sure you have another sheet of scratch paper around the edge of your paper so that you don't mess up your furniture. All right. I don't like this little shape, so I'm going to fill it in. So that is our first pattern for today. For my next pattern, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a ruler to help me get straight lines, but if you don't have a ruler, that's okay. And I'm just going to do some stripes. That fill in this space here, like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I think we might have done this in practice, but I'm going to fill them in with diagonal lines that change directions in each stripe. So I'm going that. It helps me to kind of turn my paper so they're going in opposite directions each time, which is going to create a little bit of an optical illusion. Ta-da! Starting to be almost dizzying to look at, but that's what we're going for. It's what makes them cool. Alright, so I'm going to move on into this section. So for this one, I'm going to actually do a bit more of a simple pattern to give a little bit of breathing room to this very busy situation. And I'm going to actually do stars. So I'm going to draw a star. I like to do an A, and I like to go from this point up to there, and across, and down. Some other people like to do the A, give it long arms, touch the toe, however you like to do it. And I'm going to color in my star. And I don't want to just do a few stars, but I'm going to start with my big stars. I'm going to start with my big stars. And then once I've colored, I can even try to have them go off the page. That helps give this idea, this illusion, if you will, of my artwork going on into infinity. Remember, don't mess up your table. Make sure you have scratch paper under your paper unless you're using a specific art table. So I can kind of give this idea that my pattern continues long beyond this space by going all the way to the edge of the pattern. The way you do that is you just kind of draw until it stops at the edge. This is another great exercise to train your brain to see your art in a new way. So I'm going to finish drawing my big stars and then we'll do small stars. Okay, so now that I've kind of filled this in, I could stop here, but remember, one thing I want you guys to think about when you're working on these Zentangles is thinking you can stop, but then adding something more to make it just that extra dose, just to give it that extra little something. So for me, that extra little something is going to be filling in as much of the space as I can with different small stars as well, so that I've just really filled in and maximized, used the most of this space. So I'm going in and I'm adding some small stars. I'm trying to turn them all different ways. And maybe instead of stars, you want to do a different shape. Maybe you fill a whole section with footballs or baseballs or hearts or rainbows. Whatever shape you like. You can see this is starting to fill it in. Make it more visually interesting of having stars from different sizes. If I'm drawing these really tiny, sometimes it's helpful to just do head, feet. So there you go, stars. Okay, so I have all of these spaces. I have one more section left. You might have one section more or one less than me, but you should be around this point in your work. I have this one more section, and we're going to do a basket weave pattern. So I need you to pay close attention, and we're going to do this together. I think you're going to like it. So the way that this works is I'm actually going to use a pencil to kind of help myself out a little bit. And using a pencil, I'm going to draw just very lightly some horizontal lines that are about an inch or so apart. Then what I'm going to do is along those lines, I'm actually going to do a full grid. So I'm going to do the same thing, the opposite. So I'm building a grid for myself, similar to how we started this pattern. They're about an inch apart. And I'm going very, very lightly, like that. So now that I have this grid, it's not perfect, but it's close enough. I'm going to draw tiny squares at each intersection. So each point where my grid lines cross, I'm going to draw a small square. So each place I see my lines crisscrossing, I'm drawing a square. And that's it. So once I have this down, what I'm going to do, I'm going to imagine that there's one here because there probably is, is I'm going to connect, I'm going to alternate, so watch very closely. I'm going to connect the bottoms of these squares and the top of the next. So it goes bottom, and I have to imagine that it keeps going. Actually, I'll put little squares here to top. So let's do that again. I'm going bottom to top, bottom to top. On the next row here, it's going to be opposite. So it was bottom here, so it's going to be top, bottom, top, bottom. So it's kind of like a weave, okay? So you guys can see how it creates this sort of pattern. Up here, it went bottom, so it's going to go top, bottom, top, bottom, top. Okay, let's do that again. It's bottom here, so I'm going to go top, bottom. So it alternates, and you start to get this like big square, little square kind of look. So it's top here, so I'm going to go bottom, top, and then whenever it's top, the one above it is bottom. So I'm kind of continue that, and I think it's looking a little funky to me that I don't have something happening here, so I'm going to just draw one. Okay, same with here. Okay, I'm still not done. That looks cool, but I'm still not all the way done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect the sides. So what that means, as I see these tall things, so I'm going to go connect, 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 like that. So I'm seeing how this is creating boxes, and I'm going to connect them that way. I'm going to connect them this way. This one's a little tricky. Even I'm having to like look at this and I'm getting a little dizzy, but I get this basket weave pattern. So I basically just went in and traced all of the grid lines there. I went one direction first, and then I went the other direction and filled in what wasn't done. So that one was your challenge one. If you're struggling with that one, you can make you're struggling with this one, don't panic. You can keep working on it. I can post a step-by-step picture on our Canvas course. I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to save that. But we got basket weave, snake skin, we got all sorts of different things going on, and I filled my paper from edge to edge and corner to corner. And that's our lesson for today. I'm going to put this somewhere safe, and I'm going to keep this until next week, because next week we're going to turn this into a piece of mixed media art by collaging some things on top of it, or using this as part of a collage. You're going to have some options, so make sure you put this somewhere safe, save it for next week, and I will see you guys soon. Let me know if you have any questions. You can send me pictures of what you made, but we are still in process, so nobody panic. It's all good. Got our Zentangle. It should be like almost dizzying to look at. I'm feeling pretty good about it. So yeah. See you guys next week.